Hey guys, it's me again, Miss Melanie. So I kind of want to sit down and because it's only been about a year since the last time I did the insurance requirements. So I want to kind of tell people what to expect. All the way up to the surgery, like prerequisites for your insurance, what they usually the guidelines, and kind of what to expect with the nutritionist and your psych evaluation. Also, if your doctor determines that you need to do like a pre-liquid diet prior to the surgery. So like I stated before, my surgery was done November 27th of 2019. I got it in NYU Lagoon in the city, Manhattan, and I did it with Dr. Felding. First thing I want to start off is that anyone that is deciding to do surgery, just make sure that you do your research on your doctor. I got a referral from my primary pertaining to weight loss surgery, and he referred me to him, but I ultimately didn't go automatically to him. I did want to look around to make sure I get the best possible doctor, but it ended up being the doctor I picked. So I had private insurance through my spouse's employer. So I had my qualifications were through Blue Cross Blue Shield, and so when I initially started it, they had, and this was about 3 years ago because I ended up getting pregnant during the process, but they were saying 6 months of steady visits of weigh-ins, and then nutritionist, psych, and then whatever your doctor prescribes, because there are additional insurance requirements depending on what ailments you may have. So for me, it ended up being 7. My Blue Cross Blue Shield ended up changing at the very end of 2019. I had to do 7 visits. So I had to do 7 visits, and I could have done them with my surgeon, but I ended up doing it with my primary just because my primary is closer to me. So one of the blessed things that I think was great about NYU, the weight management class, is that they sat down with you and they gave you all the requirements for your particular insurance. They gave me guidelines to give to my doctor. They was like, have them print this letter, submit this. Listen, with this particular package, it will always be approved by your particular insurance company. So they were very clear about the guidelines with my insurance. They told me, they were adamant, make sure you do not gain any weight during your 6-7 month ended up being 7 months during my 7-month daily month visits. They said the reason why is because if they have any months that you are increased, that they may not think that you are a good candidate for weight loss surgery. So just in case, it could be different for any type of insurance company, maybe through your state, but just be mindful of that. That's what Blue Cross Blue Shield told me for the state of New York, that that was one of the stipulations. I couldn't gain weight. I could lose weight, of course, but no gaining weight. So I had to be at a steady pace. I had to see a nutrition very early on and basically see what the best type of diet would be for me, and of course the nutritionists, they go over everything, what's the proper portion size, what you should be eating a day, everything that we know. Stay away from sugar, stay away from some carbs that are bad for you, limit your intake. She told me that I should be eating 6 small meals a day. We went through the whole thing, and basically they want to know during your basically during the time frame that you're doing those visits monthly, what kind of diet you're utilizing. Is it keto? Is it low calorie? Is it low fat? Whatever it may be, and they need to monitor that to see if you are gaining weight or losing weight, or whatever the case may be. I stayed exactly the same because I was breastfeeding the whole time, so I had to keep my calorie intake and my carb intake the whole time. I think I even gained like 3 pounds during the whole thing, but it wasn't a big deal because I think at the following visit I had already lost it, so it could have been bloating or whatever the case may be. So that was the guidelines that I had, and then I had the psych visit. The psych visit was basically the last thing that I did, and basically I sat down for about an hour and a half, and they want to know if you would be kind of like self-destructive. That's basically what he told me. He wanted to know if if you're completely honest with them. Of course, you can always lie. I don't know the breakdown, but he basically told me that if I had any psychological issues prior, any type of bulimia, anorexia, anything kind of associated with binge eating or anything like that. So he wanted to make sure that there was anything in the past that we would have to correct. And of course, depending on how you answer these questions, it's not an automatically thing that they will deny you. Sometimes they want you to go in a few more times. But me, it was quick, and I don't want to say quick, it was like an hour and some change. One down part about nutrition and the psych is that both I had to pay out of pocket. Unfortunately, it was not covered through my insurance. I hear a lot of people indicate that to me in the state of New York. I don't know about other states. I know other states do. You have to do the psych and the nutrition is prior, and they had to pay out of pocket. But I definitely believe that there has to be some on your insurance. So that kind of hurt my pocket. The expenses for the surgery were definitely something that weren't minimum. I think in the whole amount, I paid almost $2,000 with all my deductions. And this is me having all my deductible already done for the year. This was just hospital fees, anesthesia fees. I think for my psych was $275, the nutritionist was $250. And then the fees with the hospital and stuff like that, there's just some things that are not specifically so. But I did call Blue Cross Blue Shield prior, and they have a great website too that you can put the surgery and you kind of see what the estimated out-of-pocket costs that you may cost. So I was well aware of a lot of the costs that were associated with it. But of course, it's not something that I had right away. I had to make sure that I had it put aside. Now, another thing, for some individuals, they may have to do the sleep apnea. Unfortunately for me, because of my age, this is what my doctor told me. He did have a list, but they said it wasn't something that I had to do because of my age, and then my BMI was 43, I believe, 43 or 44. But he based off of that, I had no family history of sleep apnea and my BMI, and he also took into account my age, that I didn't have to do that. So I know some individuals have to do that as a requirement, not necessarily for your insurance, but it may be something for your particular surgeon to clear you for the surgery. I also had I had an endoscopy. With the endoscopy, I had I want to say about 2 weeks prior to my surgery, 2 to 3 weeks, and basically you go to sleep, you're down for 15 minutes, and they just check to make sure everything's fine. They end up finding that I had a hernia, which they end up fixing during the surgery, which was great. And basically that was the most tedious part, was just making sure you're keeping those monthly weigh-ins. Luckily that my primary is in Brooklyn. I didn't have to go to the city, which is where my weight loss manager for my monthly weigh-ins. And then basically at the end, once all the documents were gathered up, so everything from my primary, the recommendation from the psych, everything was cleared on the endo. I saw my nutritionist the amount of times that I needed to. I was basically a-okay, and I also, my ailments included, I had high blood pressure. I didn't have severe. I was on the moderate, so I forgot what it's called, like pre-high pressure, something like that. So I was on the high side. I was like 130 over like 90. So they didn't necessarily count me as high blood pressure, but that was another ailment that they were telling me if I dropped my BMI too low, I had an ailment that would still approve me, because it's a thin line between 35 and 39. So usually, like I said, this is my insurance. They indicate during that time frame they may give you a little bit. They may deny you if your BMI is between 35 and 39 if you don't have an additional thing such as diabetes, sleep apnea, and high blood pressure. So but I was 43, so he just told me to be mindful of that if I was losing weight. And then when everything was submitted, I got a date. I got a date pretty quickly, about 2 weeks, maybe less than 2 weeks, for my surgery. They actually gave me options of 3 different time frames, but I decided to do it right before Thanksgiving. And basically that would put me, literally they called me and the next day I had to go into my liquid diet. Now based off of the location you go, it's different liquid diets. He was kind of strict. Mine was, I had to have 3 to 4 protein drinks. They were striving for 130 grams of protein a day, and I didn't eat anything except vegetables. I can only have vegetables only broth, protein drinks, and stuff like that. I wasn't allowed to have oatmeal. I was allowed to get Jello, sugar-free Jello, and I believe it was sugar-free applesauce. Don't quote me on that. But it was very minimum, the stuff that I eat. So it was very tough during the liquid phase. And I remember accidentally eating some of my daughter's oatmeal because I was feeding her, and panicking because I was like, oh my God, they're going to, all this time, and I'm not going to be able to have my surgery. But when I called I didn't end up calling my doctor, but I called the physician's assistant, you know, because any questions they have prior, they indicated to me, no, that's fine. And, you know, they basically said the reason that they have such a strict liquid rule priorhand was basically they want you kind of to understand what's about to happen to you after, because you have to be extremely strict after the surgery with your liquids, because, you know, if you eat something that you're not supposed to, you know, you can have a rupture, you can get a leak from it. But I've heard people go to purees after a week, you know, soft foods. So, you know, every doctor has their own regimen. You know, if you saw my other video, my doctor has had, I believe, the lap band. I'm not 100% sure. I think he got a revision. So that's why I was so strict with myself about these guidelines, because if he went through it, then, you know, that's good for me. That means that he knows exactly what he's talking about. That just gave me more confidence in his decision, whatever he wanted. So liquid diet, and I tell you, it was extremely hard. I did cheat. I did have nothing crazy. I didn't have like fried food. I just had like a boiled egg one day because, you know, my mouth missed chewing, like something other than vegetables. You know, I had the broccoli, steamed broccoli, everything. So yeah, I did cheat with a boiled egg. Nothing else. I was kind of really strict because it kind of scared me that when I went, so 2 weeks prior to your surgery, you have to go to the hospital and they give you a pre-op as well. They discuss all the things that they need you to do, and she kind of scared me because she was like, you know, you're going on this liquid diet, and she indicates to me, listen, if your liver is not small enough, because that's what they say, that they want you to do this to shrink the liver so it's easier for the surgery. And she said sometimes they don't do it like laparoscopically. They actually cut from here down to do it, and I was so afraid of that. So I guess it kind of scared me every time that I was trying to think of cheating or whatever the case may be. I got scared and I was like, no, I don't want that. So, you know, I only had that one time, that boiled egg, and other than that, I was really vegetables every day. I just kind of stuck to the Premier Protein, which I thought were phenomenal during that time frame. And you get that keto breath, which is awful, which is basically, it's just like it's like you're chewing a penny. It's you know, and it just unfortunately just has to pass. And that's just because you're just eating such high protein and no carbs, and it's just your body is transitioning how to burn fat. And of course, you know, I'm as a caffeine drinker, so I really didn't have the headaches that people were having. I know after the third, fourth day, people were having headache. My main issue through the pre-op prior was I was just tired a lot. I found that just, you know, I guess because in the carbs what gave me energy, I was just tired, and I was still breastfeeding during that time, so that was probably on top of it that I was so tired. But I definitely think that it was a good preparation for after the surgery with the liquid diet. So anyone, but different states, different surgeons have different stipulations. I've been on a Facebook group, and some said that, you know, their particular location didn't need a liquid diet. They did 48 hours of liquid diet, and that's it. Some say 3 weeks, some say 4 weeks. You know, I think it's a case-by-case basis with some locations, because also of your BMI. Because one of the things the pre-op discussed with me is the higher the BMI, the anesthesia. So that's why they may push it upon individuals more than other people, the liquid diet, because of your BMI. Because one of the things the doctor was saying, the anesthesiologist, was anyone over 46 BMI, you know, starts to go into that range. Over 50 is another, it's a higher range of things happening. So I think definitely that's why they have those stipulations for certain individuals. But of course, it's really based off of your state. But anyone that's thinking about doing it, you know, I think it's one of the best tools that I have. And, you know, me as I work full time, I have a household to take care of. You know, we're also, you know, starting up a business. I want to say we've had an eBay business online store for quite some time. I've had it for like 12 years. My husband established his maybe about 3 years ago, but we finally kind of decided about opening an Amazon. So it's still dress-free stressful, and it's definitely nice to have this tool. So those times that I may try to go on the street and buy something, is definitely something that that I'm happy for, because the other day we were running around going to BJ's stocking up, and you have a toddler running around, and we had to go to McDonald's, and you're just like, man, own so much great things, and you just don't want to waste your space. So you go for the protein, and I end up getting nuggets, pulling off all the skin. I think I had maybe 1 nugget with it, but you can only take 3 or 4. So it's definitely a great tool for individuals, especially if you're a working mom, taking care of some things. I think it's that added benefit, and I don't regret it one bit. I may have had a few times that I did regret the actions, but now I'm very happy. I've adjusted to my new lifestyle. 3 months post-op, and I actually have my appointment tomorrow for my 3-month post-op with all my blood work. So I'll definitely keep everyone posted. But thank you for watching. If you have any questions, of course, post a comment, and I'll post another video in about a week or so. Thank you so much for watching. You have a good day.